Friend, enemy, or frenemy? How do Indians view the rise of China and its implications for India's rise? Join the conversation on this important topic by taking the China Challenge survey. The survey has been put together by researchers at the Takshashila Institution. Answer our 10 simple questions and let your voice be heard in shaping India's policy towards China. For more details, log on to www.takshashila.org.in or you can click on the link and take the survey in the show notes. Welcome to All Things Policy, a daily podcast by the Takshashila Institution. We are a bunch of policy nerds based in Bengaluru, and we like bringing fresh perspectives to Indian affairs and Indian perspectives to global affairs. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and join us for today's chat.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of All Things Policy. And I'm Dr. Nithiyanandam, professor at Takshashila Institution. And with me, we are having a very senior and pioneer in geospatial field, Dr. Shivakumar, known to people as Major General Dr. Shivakumar, retired veteran, and who is a well-known expert in the field of geospatial technology in India and overseas. And I welcome you to the show, sir. Before I read your bit of a brief about you, it's our honor to welcome you to this podcast show, sir.
It's a pleasure to join you.
Yeah. So, audience, I'll make it short. I just wanted to introduce Sir at large, but then if I have to do that, then it will consume a large quantum of time, because that is how is the footprint in geospatial spectrum in the country and to the field. So, in short, he is holding his PhD from IIT Delhi way back in 1997. He received it on the topic Digital Topographic Database for India, and he has been in very senior positions in many places, including holding leadership position at Survey of India, and he was managing director of Shibu Geospatial Consultancy Company in Atlanta. He is still a director of IIT Tirupati, I Have Foundation, and he is member of several governing bodies. And he led even academic positions, something like pro vice chancellor, and more importantly, relevant to the topic of discussion today, he held leadership positions in Department of Science and Technology. Specifically, he was a CEO for National Spatial Data Infrastructure between 2000 and 2014. He was heading Natural Resource Data Management Systems, NRDMS, from 2002 to 2014, and Director Project Management Organization Modernization of Military Survey Projects of Ministry of Defense from 1990 to 2001, and so on. So I'm reading very, very few positions that he has held, and indeed he has also contributed to many things that has happened in the country in geospatial spectrum. Especially, he was part of National Mapping Policy 2005. He was part of Remote Sensing Data Policy 2011, and he was even part of draft National Geospatial Policy, which was released in 2017, and so on. And he has been a pioneer in bringing several technologies to the countries, and that includes the digital photogrammetry, airborne terrestrial mapping, OGC standards, because a lot of us, may not aware of the standards that is being used in GIS. And he was also part of, many other initiatives that has happened. Nevertheless, he has also contributed to 43 research papers and books. More than all, General Shivakumar also established a trust called Rachapudi Kamakshi Memorial Trust in 2011 to encourage students and researchers, especially in geospatial domain. And he offers award to young geospatial scientists every year, continuously since 2011, and also supports, the gold medal students and toppers in couple of institutions as well. So we are going to discuss with someone who has extensive footprint in all angles of geospatial. And what we are going to discuss is again important. So for the generation we are in, in the geospatial spectrum, we know there is an organization called Survey of India, which is largely responsible for making maps in the country. And especially after the geospatial policy of 2022, we all know the organization has so much of responsibilities in the geospatial spectrum. So we want to understand what has happened with this organization over the years. What are the contributions that organizations has brought out? And because it is not so simple for a country like India, where we have mostly adapted these technologies from other places, and we have our own unique challenges. So it is essential to understand the history of how this organization has evolved and contributed to the country's development over the years. So, before I leave it to Sir, I wanted to make a short note on what is Survey of India means. It is one of the oldest scientific department in India, and it is one of the oldest mapping agencies in the world as well. So it established in 1767, and it was founded by East Indian Company under the leadership of Major James Rannell, the first Surveyor General of India. And 1784, it started Great Trigonometry Survey and so on. Over the years, there are a lot of developments happened in within the Survey of India. A lot of initiatives it was taken, and even a lot of technology was brought to India through Survey of India, especially on the geospatial front. So now, why it is important to look at again, because in the new geospatial policy, especially it is responsible agency for largely looking at topographic mapping, geodetic surveying, leadership role. In fact, and it will be an organization for geospatial data infrastructure and making data available for public, and integrating technologies, especially modern technologies, and disseminating data with people. So, this is in short an introduction to an organization which has a legacy for hundreds of years. So, I'll call you as General from now on. So, General, what is the role of Survey of India? Since you have been associated with us for so many years, so what is the historical contribution of Survey of India to digital transformation in India? Yeah.
Thank you, Nitya. It has been a pleasure to join you this morning on this podcast. It is, if you want me to tell bluntly, it is Survey of India which has started digital transformation per se in India.
Mm.
Before our computerization process started, it all started only in '84 in this country.
Yeah.
That it was all sporadic here and there. Whereas Survey of India had been using whatever was available, mainframe computers here and there. Very less access was available at that time. I'm talking about the period of 70s. Whereas the surveying and mapping challenges were quite enormous because the digital photogrammetry or other photogrammetry, earlier days we were doing conventional analog photogrammetry that required a large amount of mathematical transformations required. For that, you need a high computing power,
Yeah.
which we started using it in the 70s itself. Those days, people used to go to various places, including IIT Madras, where IBM 370 was there. So that's how it started. But everywhere, at various levels, the officers and staff of Survey of India
Yeah.
started working on this. But how it all triggered is sometime in 78 or 79, there was a requirement for National Hydrographic Office to have their charts in
Yeah.
digital mode. That is the time when the international organizations started putting pressure on India also to provide the data in the digital, what they call electronic those days, electronic charts
Yeah.
in a particular format and all. So they were trying to do something at that time. Survey of India also joined, and we didn't have much of knowledge and to handle computers or maintaining them. But still, we had an organization called the CMC. Some of you must be aware.
Yeah.
So these three set of people went from National Hydrographic Office, Survey of India, and CMC. They were sent to Canada, and that's how
Okay.
the whole process started from there. So
Yeah.
from there, they brought some technologies required for mapping in the country, because earlier we were trying to do in our own analog mode. So we started working on that, and this Survey of India R&D cell in Dehradun in 80, I think somewhere in the 1980 or 81, they received what is called an automap system.
Okay.
It was a very primitive system, what is called a PDP 1132 computer. Some of you must be aware. It had multiple terminals also for digitization, editing, and taking a check plot and all. And we had some plotters like HP Qualcomm plotters and also Konsberg plotters. We had all these things. But the important thing is the digitization those days is entirely different.
Yeah.
There was no way you could do digitization like the way we are doing it today.
Yeah.
What used to happen is you paste a map on a A0 size digitizer and
Yeah.
take a tablet and laboriously go through every line, every point, every polygon and capture the data.
Yeah.
It was quite laborious, error prone because of various errors which were coming in, which ultimately got corrected over a period of time due to changes in the technologies.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to make specifically a point is those days uh, the source code was all done in Fortran 4, but our own officers and staff worked on that. They modified the programming of what they got from the Canadian sources, and of course, they were nicknamed it as a Fortran 5 those days.
Yeah.
Though it's not really Fortran 5 actually. It was Fortran 4 only, but it was modified. Similarly, later on also when we had AutoCAD, the Survey of India worked on that and they made a Survey of India AutoCAD.
Yeah.
So all these things happened in the early 80s. This is how things started. The availability of knowledge also based on books and other material. It is the
Right.
days not known to find any internet or Google days.
Yeah.
So then for the first time, that is how Survey of India had access to a major computer systems, where we could play with that and learn and do it. So that's how there are a lot of development was done. Then they integrated the photogrammetric outputs also into this AutoMap system and all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Parallelly, certain things were happening in the military survey.
Okay.
I think some of you must be aware that till recently, the officers from the army used to go serve in Survey of India. They go back and serve in the army, again go back. Like that, they used to get exchanged
Yeah.
because military survey was a small nucleus organization.
Hmm.
So in the military survey also was started doing similar kind of things, and they had a lot of proposals to modernize the whole process, and a very good paper was made those days in the early 80s for modernization. But those proposals took a long time to come out. Sometime in 1988, we got the approval from the government and
Okay.
military survey started on. But the same knowledge base has also been considered by the Survey of India also. The same
Hmm.
officers, some of them have come back to Survey of India. They were part of the R&D teams in Survey of India. That is the
Great.
time the leadership, both in the Department of Science and Technology as well as Survey of India took a very visionary leadership. A
Yeah.
very huge task force was set up to provide an end-to-end digital technology in Survey of India because considering the importance.
Great.
So
Great.
that's how that task force then started working on that, and finally they they have recommended a number of things. In that was to set up digital mapping centers. So that was also approved by the government of India somewhere in 1983. So many officers and staff are trained in outside universities or organizations in software, hardware, those this computer graphics, etc.
So if I may interrupt, I just wanted to ask you something, which is very, I mean, it's kind of curious question to people in our generation, especially Survey of India has made some fantastic maps. We have seen those historical maps in our archives, in our resources in university libraries and so on. a very good topo sheet for say. But then there were changes, as you said, in late 80s and early 90s. We had digital systems which was brought on, and there is a necessity to adapt to it. So, two quick questions of based out of this. One is like, what are the early milestones in digital cartography and geodesy achieved by Survey of India? And I'm sure how difficult it is to achieve this, because there is a requirement for everybody in the system to adapt, not only the machines but also the manpower needs to get adapted to the new technologies and things like that. So how did it happen in the past, sir?
That's the milestones. One of the important milestones in this country is by 1980, we had mapped the entire country on 1 is to 50,000 scale. A country of this size, that scale, no other country had mapped at that time.
Okay.
Right. So then we quickly took on to 1 is to 25,000. And we also adapted new technologies like photogrammetry, as I already told you.
Yeah.
And then this computer assisted cartography, automap system, these things started off. So, but we took the process of digitization, as I said, it was laborious.
Yeah.
As I said, first we were only putting the printed map and trying to digitize.
Yeah.
Then later on, what we did was each layer was separated because a paper map is
Yeah.
prone to some errors.
Correct.
What you measure on, because due to vagaries of the time, the paper shrinks and the scale and accuracies get distorted.
So,
That's why what we did was a film based, each layers were taken, around 8 layers of different features, and each one was pasted, and then the similar process was being done.
yeah.
But technology changed so fast, and we could call what they call those days is heads up digitization.
Yeah.
Because to do your tablet, you have to bend down your head and do it. So
Yeah.
now you could see in front on the screen, and you can, even on the screen, we were moving a cursor along the lines
Yeah.
and points and polygons. So it facilitated to that extent. Then
Yeah.
automatic raster to vector conversions and happened. That's how the technology progressed and we achieved. So, but the
So,
major challenge is
yeah.
there were 5,000 map sheets of
Hmm.
1 is to 50,000.
Yeah.
And imagine how much data and features are there to capture all of them. So that was the big challenge. So the one innovative officer took, we engaged the NIIT trainees and
Ah.
all around the country simultaneously started giving them a few days of training. They could digitize most of it. This was achieved
Nice.
very fast. That is
Okay.
a big achievement which happened by year 2002 or so. And that is when we could transform and created the digital domain entirely. So the National Geospatial Data Center came up, and we also
Okay.
called most of them are geospatial centers rather than earlier survey funded directorates. So this was a major milestone,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
when you ask me that, this is the major milestone.
Yeah, great, sir. Fantastic. This is very interesting to hear. And indeed, what has happened in the field today, we don't even need to place our cursor much. We can transform with the help of
Yes.
AI the hard copy map which are scanned, that can be converted into vector maps with very
Yeah.
minimum inputs that a human can get. So we have moved to that level, but then looking at that kind of inputs that you had and the necessity to do it for entire country was, I completely realize it's a humongous task, and so if India did a great job. So now I'll
At
move
the
on
time,
to
nobody has
yeah,
done. The point I
yeah,
want to make is
huh,
at that time, no other department, no other organization has taken up this kind of a lead. But
okay,
once we started doing it, others also chipped in and they also started doing the things. And by 84, 85, 86, we had thrust on the computerization. So everybody
okay.
started working on this.
So you mean the other organizations within the country, or no other survey organizations in the world? Like,
No, no. Within our own
okay,
organizations within the country, like Geological Survey of India, for example,
okay, okay,
uh, we had another organization called the NATMO, National Atlas and Thematic Mapping Organization. So all of them also started their own digitalization process, because the point is everybody is sitting on a huge chunk of data in
correct,
the form
correct,
of a conventional paper maps.
Yes.
So to make them available in a future date, at that time we didn't envisage this kind of developments. When we
Yeah.
started in
Yeah.
'84, I don't think none of us visualized it will be like
Yeah.
this as we are on
Yeah.
today. But thought, okay, we'll have a huge
Yeah.
servers, everybody will be having the data.
Yeah.
Ultimately, idea was quickly update the map and print it and give it to the people. That was the
Yeah.
purpose at that time.
Yeah. But listeners, I'll just add a bit here. When General Shivakumar said like no other organization has did at that time. So what is happening now is the many organizations like they works based on thematic areas, like organizations which are working on agriculture related things. They come out with their own database of things which are related to agriculture. Organizations which is working related to water, coming up with their own databases. So now everybody is trying to develop their own database as per and then we are trying to put it together as a one database for the country. But that time they were not taking lead, and Survey of India was a pioneer in making this. So moving on to the next question, General, what is National Spatial Data Infrastructure? Because you are one of the key member in establishing it. So you know why was it started, and what is the purpose, and then what has achieved so far through this NSDI?
It's a very good question. I'm very passionate about NSDI because
Yeah.
I started from that and I grew with that for almost 14 years.
Yeah.
Uh, I was member secretary for the task force
Yeah.
appointed by Department of Science and Technology in the year 2000. And later on, even this was NSDI was part of Survey of India till the year
Mhm.
2006.
Okay.
Okay, so around 2000, by the time the visionary leadership again, both in survey as well as in the science and technology, they felt that now, okay, we are going to have lot of digital data. So what? So what is the major issue was people do not know what they are having. There was
Mhm.
no metadata.
Yeah.
So metadata was unknown. A word metadata was unknown actually. People didn't know what is metadata. So even the organizations had sitting on the data, not only Survey of India, many other organizations. There were
Mhm.
16, 17 of them as a part of NSDI movement. So first is that metadata means they don't know what is the holding they are having, how that was collected, what accuracy, what vintage, and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
The second thing is okay, if then you can't discover. No, metadata enables discovery of data.
Yeah.
So discovery of data is one issue. Second issue is the data is not interoperable. Even the digital data we have generated within the organization also they are not. Sometimes across the organizations are not due to
Yeah.
various reasons. One is the computer systems, the formats used, the resolution of the data, and the time periods kind of things.
Ownership per
So one
se.
is the,
Yeah.
yeah. So the interoperability is a big question. So these two are major issues. So first is this metadata, second is interoperability.
Yeah.
Third is the policies. Those days, before the policy came 2005, now it is
Yeah.
2022 policy. It was
Yes.
entirely different domain that time. Before
Yeah.
2005, a common man cannot get a map. It
Yeah.
was as bad as that.
Correct.
So the government is quite restrictive about at that time, whatever is the reasons, it took
Yeah.
time. So 2005, we had a policy allowing some data at least. Now it is everything
Yeah.
is available for people. Whatever data we are holding, it's possible
Yeah.
for people to get it. But
Yeah.
last important point is uh, people's mindset, they don't want to share the
Mhm.
data.
Yeah.
So data sharing is a big issue.
Yeah.
Even organizations or individuals, they don't want to share what they are holding. So they
Mhm.
will say that, no, I will keep it myself. Even if
Yeah.
you officially ask, also people do not share the data. So
True. True.
we have NSDA came up because of that.
Yeah.
So
So.
we working on that,
Mhm.
and this task force met 25 times in the period of 5 years,
Great.
and all the organizations were part of that.
Okay. So I could remember the kind of struggle academia used to have to get this data sets. You have brought out what the government organizations struggled, but I could also remember But those times, very few organizations, very few institutions hold this data sets like topo sheets as an archive. And student like us, the moment we saw a topo sheet for your own place, for your own state, and when you get able to look at your district and your town, we feel like, wow, we have something precious, and we'll try to keep it, as precious as possible as the saved record. um, that
Like it.
that is the kind of value it had. And thanks to people like you for making it open for larger public. And that's what the data sets are widely available to people and to academia to some extent now. And the initiatives which have which came much late, but of course it is at least there right now, is getting the boundaries, vector boundaries of our countries, of our districts, and so on. Right now we are getting it. That is a good thing that for any researcher who want to start on it. So I will move on to the next thing, General. There is, when it comes to different programs, the large scale programs where the country has utilized geospatial tools. One of that comes to my mind is the Digital India Land Records Modernization Program. So, I mean, can you tell the listeners like what it has actually transformed in the country? Why it is important to the country like India?
Not many people know that this initiative also started from Survey of India.
Okay.
Uh, After 84, as I said, when we completed our 50,000 mapping, we were going on to 25,000 mapping. When the government saw that these maps are much larger scale and
Mm,
useful, so then the idea was how we can put our cadastral data of village boundaries and village individual land holdings onto this map.
mm,
That was the idea given to, or rather, problem posed to Survey of India.
mm.
So that challenge was taken up, and in the year probably 90 or 91, a pilot project was started in Odisha
Okay.
for creating a digital cadastre for a district called Angul,
Mm,
and it was taken up by the Research and Development Directorate of Survey of India. And there, the emphasis was a thorough revision of settlement surveys using digital, at that time, whatever was available, semi-digital methods of different stages of
mm,
resettlement operations to create a good, clean digital cadastre for ease of maintenance, so that you should be able to serve the people better.
mm, mm.
But it's not so easy, it is it because the concept is to have a geocoded crystal boundary and
Mm.
a digital map of each plot, so that each plot owner can have a data of his
Yeah.
own map of his plot
Yeah.
with all the latitude longitude coordinates available.
Oh.
uh, so these procedures were then, there are other states. Then when we started doing in Angul, later on Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, they started. You must have heard about Bhu
Yeah.
Bharati
Yeah.
project, etc.
Correct.
In Nizamabad, another place in West Bengal, some work was done. But
Mm,
there are a number of technical challenges in this, actually.
mm.
One is, as you are aware, the major issue is all our cadastral data. We have got very good cadastral maps,
Mm,
which we started during the time of Akbar by Raja Todarmal.
mm.
The revenue maps started those days. So we have got excellent
Yeah.
cadastral maps compared to many other countries.
Mm.
We have a problem is that they are all done in a Cassini projection.
Okay.
If you know, the Cassini projection is a local origin it has got.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to put this into a lab map, those days we were using Everest spheroid and
Yeah.
Lambert conical orthomorphic
Oh,
projection.
yeah.
If you wanted to put this data onto that, it needs to undergo a transformation, mathematical
Correct.
transformation.
Correct.
So X, Y, Z's have to be rotated or
Yeah.
moved, kind of things. But any kind of a mathematical transformation will create some anomalies like change in the either shape, size, or area,
Correct.
which is never acceptable by any individual. So
Yeah.
that is the challenge, the biggest challenge we had. Even today, there is a challenge. No doubt we are having.
I'll just make a point for listeners. This is something which leads to the maps which get shrinks either or it gets fat either at time. So this is the reason for that. Please, sir. Yeah,
That's why different projections are used by different countries to project their own country. A small
yeah,
country can be shown as a big, and
yeah,
a small country, bigger country can be shown as a small. But this is all
yeah,
the magic of projections. That is
yeah,
another subject for another day.
yeah.
But coming back to that, then these discussions were there. Then I was also privy to some of the discussions when I was in Department of Science and Technology. Now we had sometime around 2007-8. This program was launched. At that time, it was called only National Land Records Modernization Program. If
Mm,
I
mm,
remember the figures right, it was about 5,600 crores for entire
mm,
country, out of
mm,
which 3,500 crores was to be provided
mm.
by the central government, 2,100 crores to be put on by the state governments.
Okay.
So the program started in 2008, but it was quite sluggish for various
Mm,
reasons. One of that is the state governments, most of them, they wanted entire money to come and they didn't want to spend. So the progress was too slow. So it was reviewed, and when the Digital India has started, this was absorbed into Digital India. And in 2016, I think, the scheme was relaunched with 100% central government funding.
okay.
So that's how now the program is going on up to 25, 26. And I was also one of the, I was there after my retirement, was the
Mm,
president of a company which was doing extensive this land records modernization work in at least two states. One is Bihar and other is in Gujarat.
okay.
But there are still innumerable number of challenges in that, and still probably I think 60 to 70% of work only is done as far
Okay.
as the cadastral map digitization part. So all states have not come in, but ultimately, whatever we do, the people have to accept it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
data which is coming through the system has to be accepted by people. So various ways and means were done using the gram sabhas and other things.
Mm, mm.
So quite a good progress, but not as expected as it should have been. Though we launched it quite long time ago, we didn't come that far.
But I'm sure this would have reduced a lot of legal conflicts between people. So otherwise, the land ownership in a digital form is, this is something which can helps us to locate our areas and also to claim our ownership. And otherwise, this is the largest cause for the legal cases in the country as well. So thanks to the technology for helping on that front.
Yes.
Uh, yeah.
It will
Now,
help because even DILRMP, NLRMP
yeah.
has brought in other things. Initially, when 2008, only for bringing the data into digital mode and bringing it
Mhm.
into a national framework, that
Yeah.
was called probably computerization of land records.
Yeah.
Then slowly the registration part, survey and resurvey. So they have got modern record rooms now. They did a lot of capacity building,
Yeah.
and they have individual units, for which it will do. Ultimately, idea is to optimize the use of land resources,
Correct.
and if we can do that, that is the best thing to happen to this country.
Correct, correct, correct. I'll move on to the next question, General. So, what is NRDMS? Let me tell the listeners this is a setup within Department of Science and Technology, which largely looks at the geospatial front. And General do have a footfall here because he was heading that for a long time, within the DST setup. And at least I was fortunate to interact with him, and then thereafter with Dr. Boob Singh, who headed it in a subsequent period. Um, so it is doing a fantastic job in promoting the field. It funds academic projects. It supports the development of things related to that. It supports state governments, if I'm not wrong, General, and it supports a lot of initiatives related to data generation and dissemination. Could you throw some light on this aspect?
This is a program which is more than 35, 40 years old now.
Hmm.
Fortunately, I could be in that program for more than a decade. But what it started, one of the major things which attempted at that time, nobody has done was we are talking about Atmanirbharta today. It was
Yeah.
thought of those days, I am telling. Somewhere in 90s,
Okay.
late 90s, NRDMS wanted to have supported a project for IIT Bombay to create a GIS, our own GIS. It is still being used by a number of people. You must have heard about it, called Gram++.
Yep. Yep.
So that program was to create a GIS of our own. So we brought all the experts from on the GIS from the world over. Our own teams in IIT Bombay and other places, they developed that software, and it was being used by a number of people. Even today, some of them use it because it is quite inexpensive to use, and the source code is available and various things. At the same time, ISRO also was trying to do similar kind of ISRO GIS and other things. That is one part of it. That is the initial part, I'm telling. But later on, when we moved on, we started working on this district data centers. So we wanted to have a digital data of each district in the country. That was the aim. So with that, we started doing it, and a number of districts were attempted in states like West Bengal, Karnataka. These two states took the lead. Because ultimately the land of the kind of information required is with the state governments, most of it. So it is also a state subject. So we need to take this, state governments and the state organizations a part of this. So we had another setup, what is called state councils for science and technology. Other than the NRDMS program, there was every state has got a council for state science and technology, and the Department of Science and Technology is used to support them and mentor them. So, with the help of those organizations, each state we started this district data centers. That was one of the major achievement which we did. We at that time, by middle of 2005-6, we could finish almost 100 districts in the country. Which attracted the attention of the planning commission, and they found it is a very useful program. And then as slowly as the NSDI came in, we started working on the philosophy of having a state spatial data infrastructure, and we worked on this each state to have its own spatial data infrastructure. So again, Karnataka took the lead. So Karnataka state had its own spatial data infrastructure by year 2010 or so, when we were launching a National Geoportal. The first portal, Geoportal, India Geoportal, was launched by the NSDI. Then at the same time, Karnataka state also came up, and they had a large amount of data and solutions on that. This is one part of a state kind of solutions. But NRDMS also looked at various other activities, such as supporting research projects to various small institutions also, where people wanted to work on new technologies, tools, innovation. So it developed a nationwide network of researchers, professionals all around the country. Secondly, it also built our capacities. So parallelly, NRDMS also started capacity building programs where running the summer schools and winter schools, and starting from the school children level, started working on as early as 2003. We worked with the school children. So what we are talking about, crowdsourcing of data, was attempted that time. So you employ the students, they bring the data, and you incorporate in your database. So this technology, when we discussed in the Cambridge conference in the year 2003, it was really mind-boggling. Everybody gave a standing ovation after the paper was presented. And my paper was the best paper in that conference at that time.
Wow.
In addition, we have also nurtured a number of institutions. We created a national geotechnical facility in Dehradun, and we created an advanced GIS lab in the computer science department. Because at that time, as early as 2007-8, we felt geospatial has to get better with the computer science. We can't work alone. So we created this department in computer science department of IIT Bombay, and we started working on that. Similarly, centers of excellence, various places it was started. Kumar University, even we had as Darmila as in Chidambaram Annamala University, Kerala University, we had a center for excellence.
I think almost any geography department or any geospatial lab that we go in the country has a footprint of DST support over there. It says DST supported program there. So I believe NRDMS has played a greater role in this, and indeed it has supported larger public institutions across the country, and to some extent to private institutions also, to build their own capacity. Where listeners, the kind of amount required for getting software and hardware infrastructure for geospatial is always costly. It's not cheap. So there is substantial support required from the union government or state governments to set up this kind of institution within academic environment. So thanks to the
We supported,
organizations that
I
support.
wanted to add there,
Yeah,
we also supported huge investments in hyperspectral remote sensing in various institutions, Annamala University,
yeah,
then Indian Agriculture Research Institute, IIT Bombay, and other places. Now it is flourishing.
yeah.
Hyperspectral has caught up now.
I remember even the LIDAR-based survey conducted by Anna University and all was also funded by DST and RDMS division itself. But my question, subsequent question to this general, it has supported fantastic programs with so much of money has been invested on these programs. But at times it is saddened to see the data set which is it is not used to the extent it is expected to use. It is not shared with people, and now I know the geospatial policy is something which has given a window to ask the data in a legal way from your peers and others. But what was the challenge at that time? Because a lot of programs you have taken Karnataka's spatial data infrastructure also. So if you look at it now, the kind of data sets exist. Yes, that was a golden data at that time. But what are the steps taken to update it regularly? And in short, what are the efforts required by anybody once you're funded through NRDMS? What are the things required to take it further or to continuously make the data useful?
You said it. People don't share.
Yeah,
So we worked on that. It is I personally took
yeah,
the lead at the time. In the year 2012, we brought a policy called National Data Sharing and Accessibility Policy.
yeah, yeah.
One of the important component of that was any data acquired through public funded project, that
Mm,
data should be made available to a portal.
mm.
Which portal came up is today being very commonly used. It is a data.gov.in.
Data.gov.in. Yeah.
So with NIC is doing it, but at that time, NRDMS, NSDA,
Yeah,
and NIC, we all sat together and we brought that. So the National Data Sharing Policy is the one which enabled or which mandated everybody to provide their data to that open source platform. A
yeah,
number of applications are developed, whatever data is available. So but the question you raised is maintenance and upkeep of the data.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is a big challenge.
yeah,
That is what happens, with all my experience, what I would like to say, the researchers in the academic institutions, they work by project to project. Okay, this
yeah,
project is there, as long as the funding is there, they maintain, after that, they close down that. It's done, wash off. So, to some extent, what we are trying to do is bring it back into open source, open data.gov.in, though it is not 100% being done, but it is mandated. In fact, DST, we started this from 2012. Every government sanction used to mention that you need to give your data to data.gov.in. So it has been mandated. But however, it doesn't happen in practice.
It was not continuous. So a lot of people shared it for a very short time and then they never continued to share the data in the requested format that it has to be stored in data.gov.in. The continuity still seems missing over there, General.
No, for geospatial, we laid down those also. Like,
Okay.
as I said, NSDI, to increase the interoperability, brought in the standards. That is
Yeah.
one of the major achievement of NSDA. One is
Yeah.
the bringing all these guys, 17 guys, making them agree to share the data.
Yeah.
Number one, at least government agencies, they'll share the data. Number two is that the data will be in interoperable format. So that's
Yeah.
why we brought in the GML. So GML was used in the exchange format. So Survey of India has made its own data exchange format to
Yeah.
bring their own data, which was in a legacy system, to an open system. And to make it more interoperable, people need not give even data, they can provide a service like a web map service or a web feature service, which were also standardized by going into GML1, GML3. So these things were done in NSDA over a period of time. And even for data.gov.in, we insisted that it should be done as a service. At least you provide a WMS. One point I want to make, the maintenance of the data can only happen by crowdsourcing in today's world.
True.
Now, but with the AI and ML, it's much easier to use the crowdsourced data, to validate it, to accept it, and then incorporate it in the database.
Yeah. So it is more obvious now. We don't have to rely only on a government source for the geospatial data. We need to work together with open source platforms, open source information, especially crowdsourcing, as you said, to make it more robust and updated. Because I believe the successful data set which is available for free in open source platforms is good enough for many of the cases, rather relying on a costly data set which comes with a cost. So now moving on to the mainframe discussion on related to Survey of India. So from your answers, I could understand Survey of India, has been collaborating with several agencies within the country, mentoring them and getting the geospatial data done, and collaborated with institutions outside the country to get that knowledge which is required for our own developments and daily requirements. How about Survey of India's collaboration with private players within and outside countries? Because the technology that we are looking at, it has been growing tremendously in a rapid way. So the private players are, somebody in overseas who are capable of, catching up the speed. So, are Survey of India collaborated with private players in the past?
Yes.
Okay.
One is that many of the activities, Survey of India, you utilize the services of the private, not just tendering and doing mapping. They did together, they developed many of the things. Even outside the country also things were done, like the Canadian Natural Resources Department of the Canada. We have worked together, Survey of India and them, and their geomatics department and Survey of India worked together. We had very good relationship with the Ordnance Survey, and Survey of India is a part of many other international organizations. Today, of course, earlier days there were a number of them. Today it is UNGGIM, United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management. That those things are still going on. As a part of UNGGIM, we are working in close relationship with various other countries.
Okay. So that's good to know. So one, probably two last questions since we are running out of time. I'll ask you in short. So Survey of India was one of an organization. It is very old and it is pioneer in adapting technology. Has contributed to digital transformation. Well, all this in place. What went wrong in between? And it looks like when we are studying, we have been told it was a great organization at time, but then now the number of manpowers is brought down to a greater extent, and it is not functioning as it is expected. These were the certain things speculated in the geospatial spectrum. So what went wrong in between? Now I'm sure with the leadership currently, I got a bit of opportunity to interact briefly with Shivakumar ji, and with the government's vision to promote these programs, and Survey of India is given back with a lot of responsibilities and things to do. So what happened in between in few years where the institution looks like it is not a prominent institution in the country, and now of course it has gained back its own powers and to lead the things in front.
It's not entirely true.
Okay.
Department has not gone down or anything.
Okay.
Probably Survey of India always rendered a silent service to the nation.
Yeah.
Nothing much was not known. Survey of India is shy of publicity.
Yeah.
Even today, I don't think they'll come out and speak. So that is one of the major reasons. I really don't think there are many great things were done in this period. I am telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many concepts were brought in. For example, this definition of a new datum. A lot of work was done in the new datum, in the vertical datum and the horizontal datum. and switching over to ITRF, International Terrestrial Framework. Also, we are now, Survey of India started the work of continuously operated reference stations, started somewhere in 2012 we started the concept, and then started building up. Today it is a reality. So what is happening was, it may not be visible, but there is a lot of work was being done. The entire, for various reasons, there was a quick change of the leadership. So probably there is a continuity was not there that could have, they could not project what they have been doing. I do not agree that it was down as such. One is that no doubt the number of people have reduced due to the technological changes. Secondly, for some time government said if anybody retires, don't recruit anybody for cost cutting. So that also affected to some extent, no doubt about it, the manpower resources. And secondly, the kind of financial resources were not given to Survey of India in the sense to upskill the people, to retrain and to modernize, bring more equipment, kind of things. Nevertheless, Survey of India did a marvelous job in bringing all the new technologies. Whatever is contemporary today, they're all there. And including the drones which we are using, all these things were start off. Even airborne laser terrain mapping was brought in during that same period which you are talking about. And I don't think, partly it is true that we could not show up what we have been doing it for various other reasons. But Survey of India has been doing a wonderful job.
So there you go. The mission of this podcast is now. So like now everybody who is having this mindset, who is having this confusion in mind, got a clarity on this. It was doing the job, but then the only thing is it's about projecting it and then taking it to public is something which was missing. And I believe, General, it's not just a mistake of the community. Also, what people felt is like. When there was a rapid activities happening across the globe, and then people are projecting it in different forums and different platforms. When we are unaware of things, this is obviously at times it can happen. So I think that is what happened over there. And
one reason is also that the thirst for maps and map knowledge increased over a period of time. And we, due to restriction and other policy restrictions, Survey of India could not help in disseminating that kind of a data. So that gave a bad impression among the people, but it's not that. Secondly, we were not very quick in adapting remote sensing data. There was a time lag in accepting remote sensing. Even today, I believe, as a photogrammetrist, photogrammetry is best compared to remote sensing. May not be true. So that is how there is a different mindset. Otherwise, all new technologies were brought. Absolutely no doubt.
So I'll move on to the last question as we are running out of time. I'm sure we need a couple of days to discuss with you to get the basic information on this. But then due to the short of time. So I'll move on to the last question, General. So now the Survey of India is given a lot of responsibilities in the new geospatial policy, the latest geospatial policy, I would say. So what are the ways in which we need to focus? Especially, what should be our future directions for Survey of India? Looking ahead, you need to lead the entire ecosystem. You need to achieve a target which is given with a specific timeline, and then the data has to be disseminated. The capacity has to be built, and there are too many requirements and too many things. More importantly, to bring many people together on the table. So, what are the things that you suggest that we should focus more, because you looked at the past and you know what has actually worked and what was the reason for certain challenges. So now what we need to focus for Survey of India to remain as a star and also to achieve whatever is envisaged in the policy from your experience.
Put it the other way. So all these days, everybody in the industry, in the academic world, the country at large was blaming Survey of India. You do not give the data. There is a policy. We can't fly aircraft. We can't invest money. We can't create data. We can't provide our own services. But tell me frankly, in the past 1.5 years now this policy has come, how much effort has been done by the private industry or the academia or any other public sources other than Survey of India. Even today, Survey of India has been doing its job. So even today, Survey of India will be enabling. It is enabled. It can enable more now because there is they are unfettered now. So they can freely discuss. They can freely give the data to you. They can discuss with you and do it. But how many people are going to Survey of India saying that I want to do this? So I don't think, at least I'm not privy because I am far away in the United States. I have no idea what's happening. But to the best of my knowledge, not much is happening. So in 1.5 years, I don't see any progress. When the policy was brought in, it was envisaged that there will be some thousands of jobs will be created and lakhs of rupees will be, crores of rupees will be invested into this. But where is it? I don't see it at least. Right?
Correct.
So Survey of India's role continues the same. They are the custodians. They will make the data, national framework, national data, what is required for everybody. There will be no doubt. So only thing is Survey of India may not do it for others. They'll do it for whatever is national mandate, they'll be doing it. But now the responsibility has come on to the other agencies other than Survey of India to come and work in this field, provide more on data. They bring in the new technologies, AI, ML, whatever you are talking about, and crowdsourcing, all kinds of things into this, and see that the data is available. There are many services available to the common man. If a farmer wants to use the geospatial solutions, they should be available free of cost if required, or a nominal subscription. So how many people have come to this? Which industry has invested money and trying to recover it from the providing a service? I don't think so.
So you have brought out, you nailed it. In fact, that is what we need to look at. And academic collaborations and things also is not happening in a great way that is as envisaged in the policy. So one thing more general, what we can also do is it has to, and people has to reach out to Survey of India and put out their requirements, and they need to interact more frequently. Perhaps the platforms need to establish that kind of setup where people can interact with the nodal directorate often. And of course, there's one more gap exists in very few think tanks also works on this field, and which it is essential to work with think tanks also to see what the minor policy changes that needs to be brought out, and what are the things that need to look at while we are executing it over a period of time. So at least from Takshashila side, we are happy to engage and interact with leadership and to work along for the development of this field in the country. So I'm happy that you accepted our invitation and part of this discussion today. In fact, the idea is to bring out what is about an organization where the generation which is born after 1980s has no idea about it. So I think we have achieved it, and thanks for sharing your vast knowledge on this subject. Though you are sitting on a different time zone, it was so humble of you that you have shared time and your wisdom with us. Thank you, General, for being on this podcast today. And it's a pleasure to interact with you, and we look forward for further discussions with you.
Thank you, Nicha. Only one point I want to make before we close is that Survey of India has been a leader in technology of mapping and allied sciences, at least since 19th century, 1802, when we started on the great. Even today, it holds the similar position. There is no doubt about it. You can be rest assured.
And what I can see these days is they are continuously working and working hard than I think anybody else who is part of the geospatial policy to take it forward. And I do agree, and I do believe we will have a good future and a better footprint on this field of geospatial technology in the country and abroad. Thank you, General, for your time. Have a good day.
If you liked our show, dive into Takshashila's research on technology, strategy, and economic affairs. Check us out at our Twitter handle @TakshashilaINST or our website takshashila.org.in.